Hello everyone, it's Benny, and in this video I'm just doing a video of some of the new things in the snapshot. Now this isn't going to be a big general overview like a lot of people have been doing. If you haven't seen a big overview yet, I recommend watching one first. I specifically will recommend Proper English's overview video, which I'll link to in the description or possibly in an annotation. We'll see what happens if I remember that. But I'm just going to demonstrate a few things I've noticed when I'm playing around with it, and I haven't really seen a particularly large number of people bring up. And first up, it's a Piston Derp. So, if I remember how to set this up correctly, I believe if you do like this, like this, yes, you'll see these pistons will just keep on going like this, in sort of this clock. The issue is, when you flip one of the levers, one of the pistons will sometimes derp. Not always, but sometimes. And there we go, one of the pistons is derped. And as you can see, no matter what, this piston stays derped. And there's nothing you can do until you break it, and then it goes back to normal. So, don't really know why that happens, but it's a piston derp. So if you're going to make a clock, don't do it with pistons and redstone blocks. It's not a good way to do it. Just do it the good old classic way, and you shouldn't have this problem. But this might occur with some issues when you're using redstone block logic, so just be aware of it. Be careful when you're using redstone block logic, because it can cause piston derps, at least in this early stage. So that's the first thing I'd like to bring up. Second thing I'd like to bring up, AND gates, because now it's possible to make a one-tick pistonless AND gate. And why is it so dark? Oh well, whatever, doesn't matter. As you can see, this AND gate, if nothing's on, no output, no output, no output, and no output. And either way you go to an output, it's one tick. Either way you turn it off, it's one tick, or faster, of course. I actually believe that turning it off from this way is 1/2 tick or instant, depending on the way this thing turns out. I'll talk about the timing of these things later, since I don't think anyone's really made a good definitive statement on it yet. So that in a second. But first off, some quirks with the redstone comparator, because it isn't perfect. It has some really weird quirks. For example, it doesn't power through blocks. As you can see, if I power it like this, nothing happens. Well, of course, right now nothing happens because I have power on here, but even when I turn this off, there is absolutely nothing I can do to get power to go through this comparator. It does not receive power through blocks. I do not know why. I really wish they changed that, but I'm hoping it's a bug. But yeah, for some reason they don't power through blocks, so be aware of that if you're doing comparator stuff. Up next, I actually believe I destroyed this, so I'll repair that off camera at some point, but there's another weird thing with comparator's strength that actually may have been me screwing up, or may have been this screwing up. I'll go back and look at that later. But other than that, this actually is just a 2-wide tileable 1-tick AND gate. And it's using the same logic I demonstrated earlier, except now it's 2-wide tileable. And this does look a little weird, and it can be made less weird, and it also can be made smaller. The big reason it can't is because of this issue right here. For some unknown reason, Mojang decided that, hey, we don't want comparators to receive power through blocks. Don't ask me why, don't ask me how, but they don't. But for now, you're stuck with this, and it's still nice design, still gets the job done, and it also makes some things where you one-tick AND gate is very nice a lot more bearable. For example, if you've ever done advanced carry look-ahead adder logic, this will make your life so much simpler. So I'm really excited about seeing that, especially in uses like that, because that's going to make life so much easier. But I'll get to that when I get to it. Now I'd like to talk about the actual timing of the comparator block, because it seems no one's really sort of nailed it yet, and I'd like to just sort of make a definitive statement on it, because it does have a pattern, it's just a bit buggy. But first, I remembered what this thing was for. Now, although you cannot power the comparator block through another block like this, so if I do like this, that won't power it, for some reason, if I put a lever on the block and power it that way instead, it works. Don't know why, no idea, I'm assuming it's a bug, I'm guessing it's just being its normal buggy little self. But yeah, if you really want to power it through a block, you can. Just use a lever. But yeah, Anyways, back to the timing comparison. If you start off with just a basic one-to-one comparison with the comparative block and the repeater, you notice it doesn't appear to have that much delay. And yeah, it really doesn't. It sort of gradually adds delay as you sort of chain more and more of them together. The weird thing is, once you sort of get around 4 of them in a row and up, it appears to be one tick, and it sort of stays that way no matter how many you have in a chain. It's a weird timing pattern, but yeah, that's how it times. So as you can see, now they have this big chain. They're extending in sync. They're retracting slightly out of sync. No idea why. But yeah. And it will do that no matter how long you make the chain, so don't worry about that. And just to prove it stays that way, if you have a really long chain like this, which has 61 comparators in a row, they all extend in sync, and they take 1 tick. And actually it does appear that the out of syncness does get better as you add more and more, so sorry, I was wrong about that. But yeah. The big reason it has some confusion is right now it has what I'm assuming is a bug, where sometimes it will act like a repeater delay for some reason. No clue why. I have absolutely no idea why this happens, but in some placements, for some reason it has repeater delay rather than this normal, really weird delay pattern. But yeah. Now, there is one thing that's worth mentioning. Although this creates sort of a pseudo instant wire, since you can make wire go as far as you want and it only takes 1 tick, these blocks cause lag. Notice, if I flip this, I skip a frame, and I skip a frame, and I keep skipping frames. Why? Because these things have, for some reason, caused so much lag. I have no idea why, but they do. So you can't just make everything into instant wire unless you want to destroy your computer. Now, the best reason I've sort of heard for that, and I have no confirmation on this, is only something I've heard. I've heard they do some sort of infinite loop check, which is really computationally intensive. No idea if that's true or not, but yeah, regardless of the reason, they cause tons of lag. And just for comparison, here are torches, 60 torches, same amount, and it still causes some lag, but not nearly as badly. So just be careful not to use just a giant chains of these in a row like this, or you'll pretty much destroy your computer. So yeah. And now on to the dreaded bud switch. Because, hey, it's 1.5, and everything's gonna go down because they fixed bud switches. They no longer work, except, oh wait, they still work. In fact, they work exactly like they worked before. There's literally only one change, and it doesn't really affect anything. So, yeah. I'll go over that in a second, but yeah, really, I don't see why people are making such an enormous deal out of buds. They haven't changed. I mean, come on. They're the same thing you've used before. They're the same thing they've been in all other previous versions of Minecraft, except for some reason people think now they've changed forever for some reason. I don't know why. And the big reason for that is quasi-connectivity. If they changed buds, these lower pistons right here wouldn't work. Because the whole reason buds work is because of the quasi-connectivity like this. If they stopped working, you wouldn't be able to do this. And giant piston walls, I guess, like this, would be completely impossible. So yeah. Oh yeah, just to show it off, you can do these piston things with comparative blocks instead now. So if you want to save 1 tick, there you go. And just to sort of put the final nail in the coffin, the buds still work. They haven't changed. Here is Hans Liemersen's 2x2 Piston Memory. It's tileable in both directions, so it's 2x2 tileable. As you can see, the bud is still working just fine. I can write. I've written a 0, so I can't read anything out. I write a 1. I can read memory back out. Yeah. Haven't changed. Same buds you know before. The change that's sort of, I think, causing people the most panic, which is unnecessary, but I'll go into that in a second, is this change. Trapdoors, fence gates, and lamp blocks no longer update pistons. So if I power pistons like this, no effect. They don't change them anymore. But really, this doesn't matter, because guess what? You can still update them with other pistons. So any place you used a fence gate or something like that before, just put a piston like this there instead, and it does exactly the same thing. This does grab the block. This grabs the block behind the way I have it set up. But if you just use a regular piston, then it won't do that. But yeah, really, really overhyped. Buds have not changed at all, pretty much. They're the same things you've known and loved for all other previous versions of Minecraft, so you really shouldn't worry about them too much. The only thing I'm going to sort of point out is, if you do pistons like this won't fix it. It has to be the head of the piston that updates it. So yeah. But really, they're the same things as before, like I've said. So yeah, in conclusion, I think this update's way, way overhyped. It doesn't break redstone at all. Buds are the same. They haven't changed. I don't know why everyone's going on so much about them. They're the same thing. Redstone blocks, they've got some rare uses, but right now they have piston derps, which they call it sometimes, so be careful if you plan on using them. Compared to blocks, these things are going to be incredibly useful. I know it. They're amazing. Just be very careful when you're using them, because if you use too many, they do lag. So be careful with them. And they're also really buggy right now for some reason. I don't know why, but yeah, that's pretty much everything I have to say. So thank you, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.